Hey everybody, this is the Facebook Ads with a Twang podcast. I'm your host Ben Blackman, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the end of the Facebook pixel as we know it. Here comes episode 79. Facebook Ads with a Twang is dedicated to taking the often overcomplicated process of creating simple, successful Facebook ads, breaking them down step by step in less than 10 minutes at a time. Let's get started. Welcome everybody to episode 79, and I'm talking about the end of the Facebook pixel as we know it. So the first thing I want to get out right up front is you don't need to do anything. Nothing's going away or anything like that, at least not anytime soon. What I'm going to be talking to you about are some of the changes that have been going on and how that affects tracking and those kinds of things. So before I get into it, though, I wanted to kind of mention something that happened last night. So some of you guys may know that my dog's been really sick, and I've been having to take her to the vet, emergency room probably about once every week, once every 10 days, something like that, to get her abdomen drained. They don't know what's wrong. Anyway, so last night I had to see if my kid's mom would come over and watch the kids for a while I went. And so she came over and she parked in the driveway as she usually does. And, I got the dog in the car and I turned the car on. I just immediately started backing out. And of course, bam, I slammed right into the back of her car. And so now my back's hurting and my neck and everything else. But anyway, so this happened for a couple of reasons, and I'm getting to my point quickly. But one is I've become reliant on the backup camera on the car. So the problem is the car that I have, the backup camera doesn't come on. There's a pretty long delay between the time that you put it in reverse and the time the camera comes on. And so I just didn't wait. I was being impatient and I just didn't wait for it, right? I didn't wait and look. And so I didn't do that because usually, the car I had before didn't have one of those. So, I was always used to just looking over my shoulder like you're supposed to do, right? And so I didn't do that. If I had done that and not been relied on that camera, I wouldn't have hit her. It's just that simple. But the other thing was I just wasn't paying attention, right? I mean, if I'd been paying attention, then I would have taken note that the car was out there. I would have taken my time getting her in there, and everything would have been just fine. So unfortunately, I wasn't doing that. And so that's kind of what happens with Facebook ads and stuff, is we don't pay attention sometimes. Things change. And sometimes they change quickly. So even if you're not actively managing your own campaigns or anything like that, you still need to pay attention to what's going on. And that's true for Facebook ads from top to bottom. Like, you don't just need to be paying attention about the newest placement that there is, or newest ad opportunity that there is. You need to pay attention to everything as a whole, including the Facebook pixel. So let's just talk about that a little bit. What is the pixel? Well, it's just a piece of tracking code, right? That's what we know. I've addressed that on plenty of other episodes. And it's just a piece of tracking code so you can track people from your Facebook ad to your website or landing page or whatever it is. And the part of the reason is so you can attribute the success of the ad back to us, whatever ad it was, right? Or whatever ad set or whatever's going on there. So that's part of what the pixel's for. And it's gathering data and that kind of thing. So I think we all know that. Now, you may be familiar with cookies, right? Cookies, and then sometimes cookies and pixels get tangled up in the same conversation and that kind of thing. But cookies have been around almost since, the internet's been around pretty much. And it's just a piece of text. The cookie's a piece of text that's stored on your computer so that you don't have to re-enter stuff sometimes. I mean, it's different reasons, but just think about it like this. So you go to Amazon and you fill up your shopping cart, and then you leave and you come back another day or whatever, and everything's still in your shopping cart. Well, that's what the pixel does. I mean, a cookie does. It keeps everything there for you. Or, you're in YouTube and, so you don't have to keep logging into YouTube, right? It keeps that stored for you. The pixel is just a piece of code that tracks site visits. So that's really the difference between the two. And it sends that information back to Facebook. It's not anything that's stored on your computer like a cookie is or anything like that. Now, here's the problem with pixels. privacy. That's become a big issue. So information's passed back and forth between Facebook and, its affiliates, not like affiliates like you would think of, somebody being an affiliate of a site like Amazon or something like that, but other sites that it is affiliated with or owns or whatever. So that's an issue. So, and it's become more of an issue. And as a matter of fact, for those that are watching, and I'm going to put a link in the show notes if I can, there's a thing from that was put forward to the FTC here in the U.S. It's about privacy risk with Facebook's P2-based targeting, auditing a data broker's advertising interface, and that kind of thing. And if you read through that, it's just basically giving, talking about Facebook and Google and how they're tracking and how, what data is being passed and those kinds of things. So that's something that's going on from a privacy standpoint. And then the other thing is you've got pixel blockers out there, right? They're becoming more prevalent. You've got plugins, or I say plugins and stuff, but you've got things that you can install your web browser and that kind of thing. In Safari, you have a selection that'll prevent cross-site tracking. So in other words, if you go to Amazon and look at something and then you come back to Facebook, you shouldn't see it. Whatever you were looking at Amazon, now on Facebook, that's cross-site tracking. You've got government involvement, and we're seeing that more and more. The government's getting involved, and that's just part of it. I mean, the government just doesn't stay out of things. Okay, so if you were thinking that was going to happen, that's probably not. So businesses as a whole are just being more cautious about the whole privacy thing, right? So how's this affecting us? Well, these things are affecting us because, in case you haven't been noticing, or maybe you haven't been running a whole lot of ads or whatever, is that the tracking part on Facebook's been getting worse. And what I mean is, it's not that the pixel's not smart, so to speak. It's that it's either tracking too many or it's tracking too few, and there's a lot of problems that are being caused there. So, if you're like, let's just say, for example, you're having a thing driving you're selling your widget, right? And Facebook showing that you had 100 sales when you only had 50. Well, besides the fact that there's you can't, I mean, obviously you can tell how much money you made, you get that, but there's a problem there because now Facebook Pixel thinks that you have gotten 100 sales when you've only gotten 50. So the data that has accumulated is not exactly right, okay? That's supposed to help you get more people like that. Or vice versa. So say you had 100 sales, but it only showed 50. Well, the problem there is now Facebook's not attributing enough to the sales, so it's going to either take long, or it's going to think some of the people who clicked weren't, didn't actually buy when they did. Right, so it's not attributing that back to your pixel so that you can retarget better, so that it can optimize better, and those kinds of things. So there's problems on both sides of that. So what's going to happen? Well, Facebook has started to implement, and you may have seen this. Now, if you're watching the video, you can see I'm looking at an ad by this company called Get Future Tech. Okay, so when I click on Shop Now, what happens is it pops up their URL, but at the end of the URL, what they have there, they have two things, okay, now that you can see. One's called the FBAID, the Facebook Ad ID, okay, and then the other thing's the FBCL ID, okay, which is the Facebook Click ID. And so these things are input to help attribute an action, so as opposed to the Facebook Pixel, okay, to help track that. So Google's been using this kind of stuff for really quite a while, but Facebook's really started to kind of get more involved. And so Facebook, what they're doing is they're building tools to kind of track across multiple platforms. I mean, that's what's going on here. So, I say the Facebook Pixel's going away, but it's not totally going away. Right? It's not that it's just may not look the same way it is now, or it may not be as useful as it is now in its current form. I don't know, I mean, one thing you can compare it to is cookies. I mean, cookies are still around, right? But they are different than pixels because they serve a different function than pixels actually do. So one thing I noticed as well, and somebody else actually pointed this out today, was that Facebook's been putting out surveys out there asking questions about the challenges between Facebook and Google search. And so they're doing that because they're trying to figure this out to get more data with but still have the privacy policies in place and still be able to target the way that they're targeting now, if not better. So I just want to bring this stuff to your attention, let you know these things are going on, okay? So you just need to pay attention to what's going on with your ads, what's going on with Facebook. I'm not saying you have to dive into it every day like I do or anything like that, but you do need to pay attention as they go. These are the kind of things I like to talk about in my Marketing with the Twang membership. So, if that is something that interests you and those kinds of things, come join us, marketingwiththetwang.com, and I'd love to see you over there. All right, I'll talk to you guys on episode number 80. See you there.